We have talked about the whole armor of God and how it can prepare us for the devil's attacks. But James gives us another plan to overcome his temptation. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. We should always be seeking ways to overcome Satan's influence and his attacks on our Christian life by whatever means that might be available. So in James' epistle, he gives us a secret escape from Satan's temptations. He says in James chapter 4 and verse 7, "Therefore submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." We realize that Satan is always seeking to turn us away from God with whatever distraction or whatever temptation that he can find in his arsenal that might work with you or with me. So the writer says to counter his attacks, we must submit ourselves to God. He promises us in verse 6 that God gives more grace to the humble. So we need to humble ourselves before him. That only happens, by the way, when we're willing to submit ourselves completely to the Lord. That means we turn over control of our lives and we allow the Spirit to control us instead. After we have learned to submit ourselves to God, then we can resist the devil. You know, Jesus said in Luke chapter 4, after being tempted by Satan, "Get thee behind me, Satan." In other words, get out of my way. Leave me alone while I submit myself to God and his work for me. Sometimes, in order to resist Satan, we must need to confront him like Christ did here. There may also be those times when we need to just run away from temptation. When Joseph was tempted by Potiphar's wife over in Genesis chapter 39, he fled. He even left behind him the cloak that she was clutching in order to trap him there. And that is the way he resisted Satan's temptation. When the giant of Gath, that man named Goliath, defied the armies of the living God, David withstood him in the valley with a sling and a stone to defeat the enemy. James has promised here, resist the devil and he will flee from you. When he realizes that you've submitted yourselves to God, he will recognize his defeat. He will probably head off to attack some other soul that may not be so prepared. He promises in James chapter 4 and verse 8, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." The secret is the closer we draw near to God and we practice walking with him daily, the more victories that we will record over Satan and his advances on us. So rather than being passive and defeated today, let's work to resist the devil and draw nearer to God with each step with a very humble approach to the Lord. I mean, we all want to defeat Satan rather than to live a defeated life. So let's resist him today.